Jack's old tailor, he's the mayor of Trashlantis. He's got some, strong opinions about how the world should be run, but you're gonna need to convince him to help us.
You're done.
Trashlantis is one of the only places in the
Oh yeah, the music in this place is sick as fuck. It's super industrial. It's my favorite track in the game, by far.
Let's get it over with.
It kind of reminds me of, like, Primus's, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory album. A little bit. It's, like, super industrial and, like, slow and clunky. It's really nice.
It's a palace, sure, but it's also a prison, see? Jack kept me around because my ugly mug made him laugh. Who's this pretty boy, he said. Made me his friggin' jester. So anyway, there I was in the tower when the lockdown happened, and I got stuck. Eventually, I figured out how to run things, and take control of the loaders, turn on the lights. I saved this friggin' casino, and I will clean it up. Jack left me the keys to the kingdom up here. Well, all except one. So, if I'm ever gonna get out of the tower and
How the fuck do I navigate this goddamn place? It's been so long. I don't remember. Oh, was it literally just as simple as going down here? Am I fucking stupid? I must be, like, absolutely stupid. No, because there's nowhere to go over here, so what do you want? Wasn't there, like, a little tunnel that I was supposed to go through or some stupid shit like that?
Get good or get dead, scrub.
What's up, Rongo? How's it going, man? DLC's going alright. It's been a pretty slow slog, but... I've already played through this DLC, so basically we're just trying to complete it as fast as possible, so I can get to the new DLC that I haven't seen anything about. Because another DLC just came out, and I'm really interested in playing it. But I have to get through this first, because I haven't streamed this DLC yet. So I figured I'd do them back-to-back all in one stream. Those two fuckers are dead. Right now I'm trying to figure out how to navigate this place, because I haven't done it in a while and I don't remember. Going well, been playing some Code Vein, trying to complete some of the DLC challenges. Yeah, the DLCs in Code Vein are fucking annoying as hell. They're really bad. Where you have to fight the bosses and you have to do very specific conditions and shit. I did a few of them myself. I've done Frozen Empress a few times and I've done Hellfire Knight a few times, but I haven't fought the Lord of Thunder yet. I've seen a boss fight of it though, and it looks really boring. It's just like a giant thunder cat thing. It looks really boring, honestly. It doesn't look that interesting at all. I'm more excited for the DLCs of Neo 2. Neo 2 DLCs are gonna be fucking rad as shit. I'm so excited to see what they do with them. I like the Hellfire Knight, but I'm terrible at the Frozen Empress. I'm the opposite, dude. I'm really good at Frozen Empress, but I suck dick at Hellfire Knight. Hellfire Knight has way too much fucking health. That's the only thing I really hate about that boss. Its health pool is way too big. It could be reduced by, like, maybe a quarter of a health bar and be a way better fight. God, this thing is tanky as fuck. Maybe my corrosive thing? Oh yeah, the corrosive thing. There we go. That worked wonders. Thunderlord is bugged, so there's a chance you don't get the vestige needed to unlock it. I'm currently waiting for a patch to fix it. That kinda sucks, bro. Yeah, honestly, the Code Vein DLCs was not very much value for the money. I'm really regretting buying them, but whatever it is, what it is. Originally I was gonna stream the Code Vein DLC bosses because I expected them to be like Souls, you know what I mean? Where it's like, they give you a big map and then there's like 2 to 3 major bosses that you fight or some dumb shit like that. But it was basically just a shitty little depths map with reskinned enemies and a mega boss that sucks ass and it's not very good. Size of the health bar, at least you get proper opportunities to rebuff, yeah, I guess so. I didn't appreciate the boss very much. I feel like all Code Vein does late game is make super aggressive bullshit, and it is kind of boring, honestly. It's not very interesting for boss design. See, my buddy hates Frozen Empress, but he likes Hellfire Knight, and the reason he doesn't like Frozen Empress is because of the 2 crystals that buff her. But I don't have a problem with them. I don't know. I don't have a problem with them at all. I can rinse Frozen Empress, no problem. I've never died to Frozen Empress, actually. It took me a while to parry Hellfire Knight and Frozen Empress, though, for sure. Took me a while to get the parry on him to get the challenge complete, but... I have a few of the weapons.
I'm into it.
I got some of the outfits.
Trashlantis!
I'm just not very interested in the Code Vein DLC. It's way worse than I expected. See, I was really questionable about Code Vein when it was first coming out, and then I actually played the game, and I was like, you know what, this isn't too bad. They did a pretty good job. And then the DLC was coming out, and I was like, oh cool, I'll get the DLC because I enjoyed the game, and then I bought the DLC, and the DLC is absolute dumpster fire, so... I don't know about that one, Chief. I'm excited for Neo 2 DLC, though. I've been farming skills from bosses in Neo recently. And I've been seeing what smithing text drops from what boss and stuff like that. I've also started using the dual swords, so I've been testing out different weapons and shit. And then pretty soon, once I get all the skills farmed, what I'm going to end up doing is, before the DLCs roll out, I'm going to do a playthrough of every weapon, and I'm going to use that weapon exclusively for the whole game. Except the axe. I don't like the axe. I don't know what it is, but I can't do it. I cannot do the axe for shit. I don't like it. It feels really awkward to me, and I can't use it comfortably. But dual swords feel really comfy right now because I've been using them for quite some time. So yeah, we're gonna do a couple subsequent Neo 2 playthroughs. I've been working on New Game Plus, and I'm quite a bit of the way through Dream of the Strong right now. I'm about 70% of the way through the main missions. I still have some shit to do. I still have to fight Tokachiro 2.0, Kashin Koji. I gotta fight Shootin' Doji. I gotta fight Otakamaru. I still have to do all that stuff. This is where the music gets cool, by the way. Where I said it gets like really clunky and industrial and cool sounding. Love this fucking music. Yeah, but I've been doing some co-op with Brahma Lama recently. And recently I played with Poofer. And him figured out I streamed recently, so that's pretty neat. Him's a really nice guy as well. Hellshock, I don't really give a fuck about that. Yeah, but recently I've been trying to help people on bosses, and there's this one guy that's been, like, specifically requesting my help over and over and over again. So, like, I've been helping people out on Neo pretty recently. That's what I like about Neo. Like, once you learn the game, it's really nice. Like, the learning curve, and, like, getting to apply all your knowledge of it is really rewarding, I think.
Looks like you got enough of those power cells. That should
X feels slow compared to other weapons. You've ordered Neo 2, so I'm just waiting for the game to arrive. Like having a hard copy. I like having a hard copy myself, man. I totally feel you. All my games are hard copies. Yeah, but Neo 2 was a fucking fantastic game. If you liked the first one, I think Neo 2 will be infinitely better for you. It just feels like a way better game, in my opinion. It honestly does. Feels vastly improved. Compared to the first Neo playthrough, it sounds like your skills have progressed a lot. Oh yeah, they definitely have, man. I've noticed a difference. Bra has noticed an insane difference. Everybody's told me I've gotten a lot better, and my understanding of the game and how it's meant to be played has deepened a lot. And really, once you start out with something comfortable, and then you branch out, and you learn other stances, and you learn combos and stuff like that, and you learn, like, skills and attacks that chain into other combos, the game opens up a lot, and what you can do. There's a huge expanse, there's a huge horizon of what you can potentially do. It's ridiculous, honestly. And I haven't even used a lot of the weapons yet. I haven't used any of the hidden arts on any of them or anything like that, so there's still a lot of stuff. There's still a lot of stuff that I have to look into using and trying out. So currently I'm farming the bosses, because the bosses drop some hidden skills that are really good. And I'm trying to farm for those right now. And the grind is pretty intense. Sorry for the frame rate, it might go to shit. This part the frame rate tends to get a little bit janky. Also, sometimes I get system crashes here, so that might happen too. Because as good as Borderlands 3 is, it's a little bit janky, honestly. It could use a little bit of patchwork here and there. That's the sign of a good dev, improving on what came before. Yeah, I think it's a definite improvement. A lot of people don't seem to like the Dark Realm, but I think it's really cool. Because some bosses get new attacks, some enemies get new attacks, the bosses get quicker, and they get less predictable. And they do more damage. It's more interesting than Neo 1, where it's like, oh, you literally just bait a move and then you back up for a little while. It's just kind of boring in my opinion. Oh yeah, boss is dead, by the way. What did I get? Crap. Oh damn, rip. I didn't get a better version of my gun. Oh well. Yeah, but Neo 2 was really good, infinitely better than Neo 1 for me, personally. It feels a lot more natural for me to play. My problem with Neo 1 is that it's too fast and it's too critical. It's too critical, like there's no room for fuck-ups in Neo 1. You fuck up a little bit, you're dead. In Neo 2, you have the burst counter, and even if you mistime it, you're fine. You have a little bit of a window to get back and heal and do whatever you need to do. The key pulsing seems a lot more, lenient and stuff like that. And it offers a wider ability for people to be able to adapt and, you know, learn and do better and stuff like that. And that was my problem with Neo 1, is it was too critically punishing to the point where, you fight a boss and then you die in like 1 or 2 hits, or there's an insta-kill, and you don't get a chance to learn what the boss does unless you die 50 times to it, and that just kind of pissed me off. Especially with bosses like Shima Sekon, and Date Masamune, and Shigazane. Don't get me wrong, Shigazane's a fun fight, but he's too quick and he does too much fucking damage. So there's no opportunity for you to learn unless you die like 20 times, 30 times to it, and that's just not interesting to me. It's not appealing. Although I will say Neo's combat is definitely the best combat for an action RPG that I've ever seen in my fucking life. It's so deep what you can do in that game, the combos you can make, like, the different stances, like, the different, like, key pulses and swapping to different, like, weapons mid-combo, like, doing different skills and shit. There's just so much you can do in that game, it's fucking ridiculous. Didn't help that you needed to farm most of the elixirs if you didn't find the Kodamas. You were Paper Mache Man in Neo 1? Yeah, absolutely. Like, no matter how good your defense got, you just felt like Paper Mache all the time. It just kinda sucked, honestly. And yeah, that's something I definitely, like, once I learned the Kodamas allow you to carry more elixirs, that was, like, my top priority, was looking for Kodamas. And then, I was using Quick Change in Neo 1 for a while to circumvent all the bullshit insta-kills, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of bullshit insta-kills in Neo 2, compared to Neo 1. It feels like they toned that shit down quite a bit. I can't remember any of the bosses insta-killing me in Neo 2 at all. I can't remember a single time where I got insta-killed by a boss. Some burst attacks on certain regular enemies I got insta-killed by from full health, but never on a boss. And, like, I can take the burst counter moves with a grain of salt, because you're supposed to burst counter them, and if you fuck up the burst counter, whatever, you die. Like, that's the penalty. Like, that's a fair trade to me. That's fine, whatever. As long as I can learn it and dance around it and get around it, you know. But there are a few times where I've noticed the hitboxes on some of the burst counters have been really shit. Especially on the ninjas, when they do that little hyper dash and then they blow up and kill you. The hitboxes on that are pretty shit, in my opinion. This might be bad. Yeah, this might be bad. Yeah, especially because I'm moving slowly. Alright, never mind, we're fine. Alright, you're dead. What'd you drop for me? Ooh, another musket, hell yeah. Cool. The more that weapon drop I get, the better. With all the options you've seen, most people forget blocking as an option. Yeah, I heard from my buddy Lethal. I'm sure you know who Lethal is. Yeah, you definitely know who Lethal is. What the fuck am I talking about? You're in Lethals all the time. He said blocking is ridiculous in Neo 2, and it is kinda beefy, I must admit. It seems like you can take so many attacks to your block in Neo 2 that it's just kind of absurd, honestly. Are you gonna kill me, Mr. Tony? Are you? You've watched him for an hour or two? Yeah. I forget who I'm talking to. I always assume, like, people don't know who the fuck I'm talking about, and, like, I feel like I have to, like, mention it by name, that kind of thing. It's kind of weird. Where the fuck do I go? Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Oh. Please die. Oh, wow, holy shit.
Finely aged cask of whoop-ass.
Do you get melted by this or not? Yeah, you get pretty melted, I gotta say. Oh yeah, insanely melted. It's easy to lose track of who's who. Yeah, exactly. You meet so many people in so many different chats, it just kind of becomes a blur. But, yeah, lethal set blocking is a little bit absurd. But, I've gone through the better part of Neo 2 on New Game Plus. I'm having a really fun time with it. I do want to hopefully avoid myself of burning the game out, though. I still have to go look for some Kodamas. There's still some boss fights I want to practice and shit. There's some burst counters I want to learn to deal with, like Azai Nagamasa I learned how to fight a bit better. I've done some no-hits on some bosses. Shibata Katsui I've practiced a bit, and I'm a little bit better at fighting now. So, Neo 2's a lot of fun. I can't wait for the DLC. I hope they don't throw any gimmick bosses in the DLC. They'll probably have like one or two, but I hope there isn't a lot of them. I'm expecting some really sick duels in the DLC boss fights, honestly. I want some cool yokai bosses too. And for once, I want a good yokai gimmick boss, for fuck's sake. Like, as much as a weird fight as it was, Tatari Moke was a pretty interesting giant yokai fight. It wasn't exactly complicated, but it was cool. It was a unique concept, you know what I mean? Kodama hunting gets easier when you have the tracking talisman. Yeah, but that's fucking... like, who wants to do that shit, right? Like, if I'm hunting around for the Kodamas, I want to find them on my own. I don't want, like, something that'll point out where they are. It's kind of like a game of I Spy. It gives me the opportunity and potential to replay the maps and appreciate the architecture and, like, whatever they're going for, like, thematically. I don't know. Like, I don't want to use something that'll just locate the Kodama for me. Unless I've been looking for them for a very good while and I've just given up looking for them, and I just want to find them to get it over with. But, for example, the map with Shuten Doji in it is a really sick fucking map, architecturally. It's really interesting. Like, you drain the water, and then you get the giant tower, you go down the stairs, you go up and down the tower, and then you go through the other side of the tower on a different level. It's just super cool. Usually take my time first time I'm running through the map, second run is a cleanup run. Yeah, that's what I did. That's always what I do. Yeah, but I really enjoyed Neo 2. Easily, I want to say a 9.2 out of 10 for me, honestly. I have minor gripes with it, but overall it's a pretty sick game. One thing I really hate, though, is after you beat the game and you unlock Divines, I really wish they would have, like, made the system more fluid for upgrading your divine weapons, instead of having to soul match one by one. I wish you could just soul match, like, all available weapons of a certain level with each other to get the best possible result, so you can just free up a lot of time, you know? So, like, for example, if you have a ton of +1s, you can just combine all the +1s into, like, +2s. Because eventually, once you start getting +4s and +5s and shit, you're not going to care about +1 drops, right? So I wish there was an option where you could take all your +1s, combine them into +2s for however many you have. Like, for example, if you have 22 +1s, you can make 11 +2s, right? And then if you have 11 +2s, you know, like, whatever. And then they could do a system where they round up or round down or whatever the fuck. And then you could turn all your +2s into +3s. Like, I wish they made that a little bit more streamlined, because it's tedious to have to work through. It's just kind of annoying. There's certain hitboxes in Neo 2 also that really need some heavy fucking editing, because some of them are terrible. Some of them are super bad. Other than that, I feel like Neo 2 was really solid. Really good game. The story was beautiful. The story was really good. I liked it a lot. Compared to Neo 1. Neo 1's story was kind of just bleh, but the gameplay was cool and the bosses were neat for the most part. Some stupid bullshit gimmick fights in Neo 1 though, that's what I don't like. Whenever they introduced a boss, like a dual boss or whatever, like a dual fight, they always had some stupid broken insta-kill bullshit that just made it unenjoyable. Like Masamune with his hyper dash. Shima Sakon with his grab insta-kill, like, just... there was always some stupid gimmicky bullshit. Shida Mitsunari with his aerial grab, like, that did a fuck ton of damage. It just sucked. And it feels like they balanced that out way more in Neo 2 to make it, like, seem like more of an interesting fight and more dynamic. And I liked that a lot about the game. I feel like it was an infinitely better product. compared. And the counter system, like, filling up the spaces in the combat made it way better, I think. Who else is shooting at me? Alright, whatever. Wood blocker? I don't give a fuck about that. It's trash. Oh, do I have to kill this last dude? I think I gotta kill him. Where is he? Neo 1 story was basic, good IMO, but basic story. Japan Civil War happening. Thought the background was interesting? Yeah. I thought the art was cool. I thought the lore was cool. I thought the characterization was cool. Like how you fight all these, like, different influential lords of Japanese history that, like, changed the, like, tide of wars and shit. That was pretty cool. I'm not saying the storyline was bad, but it was basically just spirit stones and fucking bullshit, right? Maria. And 2 was way more interesting because it was more personal, right? Like, it was you from birth going on a journey, meeting Tokachiro and doing all this shit and, like, you know, gaining popularity and gaining favor of all these different Japanese lords or whatever. It was really neat. It was a really fucking good story. I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't, like, got an idea of what the story is yet, but it was a solid fucking story, especially compared to Neo 1. I feel like it was infinitely better. Yeah, well, I'm working on it, dickhead. I can only kill people with my super overpowered guns so fast. How you doing, by the way? Yeah, but after I get through this DLC of Borderlands 3, it's going to be straight back into Neo 2. I'm gonna finish farming up the skills on my main character being the glaive character that I'm using. And then we're probably gonna start a dual swords character because I've been using dual swords, and then after dual swords, we'll probably go Odachi. And what I originally planned to do is I went with glaive and spear for my first character, but I never ended up using the spear at all. I used the spear for a little while, and then I just went glaive the rest of the game because spear felt a little awkward to me. So we're going to go with a dual swords purely character on the next run, and then we're going to go with an Odachi character. And then I think after the Odachi character, we're going to go Tonfa, because I really want to learn how to use Tonfa. Full anime build, big glaive, small waifu. Pretty much, like, my glaive, like, basically my first Neo 2 run, I just spec'd, like, a ton into health, and then I left everything else at pretty much base stats. And, like, everybody seemed to think that I had the game easy because I spec'd so much into health, but, like, I think people are mad because I adapted to the bosses really quickly, and I did really well, and I just did the burst counters pretty accurately for the most part in learning the attacks. And, like, I even had a couple people say that, oh, there's no way you're playing this blind, you wouldn't have beat him on your first try, and I'm like, but I did, though. And they're like, well, yeah, that's because you're not playing blind, you already know the attacks and shit, and I'm like, but I don't. Like, this is my first time playing the fucking game. I don't know anything. But, like, people are acting like I went and looked up videos on the bosses or some dumb shit. And I'm just like, why the fuck would I look up the boss fights of a game that I've been waiting for to release? That just defeats the purpose. I avoided everything I possibly could on Neo 2. But the bosses in Neo 2 were really good. I liked a lot of the bosses. The majority of them were sick. A lot of the fights were really memorable, really fun. The duels actually felt like they had structure, except Azai Nagamasa. He was kinda boring. He looks really cool, though. People like to dictate how others play, or refusing to believe a person doesn't have the same troubles as them. Yeah. I don't know, like, Bra, when he heard that I died like a total of 20-something times in Neo 2, he's like, are you fucking serious? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I had like 20, 24, 25 deaths or some shit. He's like, holy crap. I've died like 300, 400 times already. I'm like, really? Because, like, Brahma Lama's really good at Neo, so, like, when I heard that he died, like, a certain amount of times, I was like, what the fuck? But to be fair, Bra was using low-level weapons throughout the whole game. Well, not throughout the whole game, but for most of the game. I think, like, the better first half of it, he was using low-level stuff. But, like, people like Brahma Lama and Pim the Mac and, like, Poofer Lama, like, those are the dudes I look up to in the Neo community. Like, those are the people that are good at that game. Like, Zelod, Axel Sago. Like, those are the good people. Those are the people that I watch. Those are the people that I hang out with. Like, if you want to learn Neo, if anybody wants to learn Neo, I highly recommend them. They'll teach you more than you could possibly expect to learn, and then some. They're incredible at that game. Really, honestly. Super incredible at it, super knowledgeable, very helpful. very accommodating to people who are eager to learn the game and actually want to invest time into learning and respecting it and what it has to offer.
Died like all the rest.
Let's see. All those are crap.
You may have beat my man today.
But yeah, like, I beat Shibata on my first try,
I got a lot of
and then, like, this dude was like, oh, you obviously already know the boss's attacks. It seems like you knew exactly what you were doing, and you're just, like, hyping it up for, like, fakeness or whatever, and I'm like, I've never seen the boss before, my dude. Like, I've never seen the boss, I just adapted really quick. That's something, like, once you've played enough Souls games, and once you've, like, played enough Nioh, if you can, like, see the patterns and adapt to them quickly, you just learn them so much quicker. The longer it takes you to learn something, or notice small specific things, like, say a follow-up, for example, after a specific combo, the longer it takes to learn, the more you're going to get punished by it, and the quicker you learn it, the less you're going to get hit by it, because you're going to expect it, right? You can adapt to it quicker. And it just feels more natural to you, infinitely more so than for somebody who would, you know, take longer to learn it, or notice a detail like that. So, like, I feel like a lot of the bosses in Nioh 2, just like, something about Nioh 2, it felt slightly slower than Nioh 1, which bridged the gap in my knowledge in being able to adapt and learn how to play. And that was one of my big issues with Nioh 1, is enemies hit way too hard and they're way too fast. Like, I can do one or the other. I can do really fast and hit a bit less hard, or I can do hit really hard but be a bit slower, you know, but I can't do both. And Nioh 2, I feel like, bridged a big part of that gap. There's still some attacks that I feel like are a little bit too quick, but I'll get used to them. Like, there's enough room to gauge and improve, right? Especially in Dark Realm. There's some things that happen in Dark Realm that are way too quick. The Snake Woman grab is something that I fucking hate because I can't time it and it has way too much range. And the hitbox on her tail slap is a little bit ridiculous, but other than that. For me, it's often the dodge timings. I just have to get them down and then I'm golden. Yeah, it's basically just the quicker you can adapt, the easier it's gonna be for you. And, like, I don't know, like, going back and learning Nioh 1 definitely helped my ability to play Nioh 2. So, like, if anybody's having trouble with Nioh 2, don't worry, it's a very complicated game, it's really fucking hard, it's very technical, its combat is very deep, and it's very, very complicatedly structured, it's hard to learn. But it's really rewarding once you start to get the hang of it, because the cool thing about Nioh 2's learning curve is you can literally feel yourself adapt, and you can feel yourself improve. And I noticed that a lot with Nioh 2 in between Nioh 1 and 2. I feel like I approached everything so much better in Nioh 2 than I did with Nioh 1. I was using different stances, I was key pulsing, I was using skills, I was, you know, adapting, I was studying my targets, I was learning my enemies. And I did the whole game without quick change, or sloth, I didn't need any of it. And that just goes to show you, like, you're talking to a dude who played Nioh 1 and used no skills, and I used no leveled gear. And I died like 100 times, and I really hated the game, and then I started to learn it, and I started to use the skills, and I started to, like, switch stances. I used to not be able to key pulse or anything like that. It felt way too out of, like, it felt way too out of my comfort zone. It just sucked ass, and now I'm better at it. Because I took the time to experiment with Nioh 1 and just, like, re-engage it and try and learn it better. So, like, I don't know, it's a really rewarding experience to, like, actually spend time with it and learn the game. Because you can feel yourself improve, it's great. A lot of options open up once you start to get the game and its features and its functions down. Your knowledge of the armor system can also affect your playthrough IMO. A purification heal, for instance, can be very helpful all the way through. Yeah, that's another thing I forgot, is you can get lifesteal on your weapons or whatever, like health regeneration as you hit things, or clear pools of yokai realm or whatever. And, like, everybody wants to bitch that, like, oh, you spec 60 into health so you can basically never die. Like, no, you can die. Things hit like a fucking truck in Nioh. It's not like the more health you have, the less damage you're gonna take. It's just the longer your survivability is, you know? You get a little bit wider of a window to be able to adjust and adapt and heal yourself, right? You can gauge your enemy better, and that's the kind of learning curve I wanted. I didn't want to just have a low reserve of health and get fucking smacked 1 or 2 or 3 times and die instantly. I don't like that kind of thing. It's artificial to me. So, to get a good comfort zone for myself personally, how I like to play, I put 60 into Constitution. So I could run around relatively unscathed, you know, albeit a certain few enemies, like, given exceptions and certain bosses. Yeah, like, if I wanted that, I would have gone Glass Cannon. Like, so, because I invested so much into health, I had, like, hardly any damage on my switchglaive, and the only thing I had were tempers holding me up, and weapon level.
Let's talk tower.
I had very little ki, I had very little, like, defense, I just had a lot of health. But my defense was shit. My damage was shit. My ki was shit. My, ki that I got back on ki pulses was shit. You know? I had all these fucking downsides. I didn't use Sloth, I didn't use Quick Change, I didn't use any of that shit. I didn't use Omnio Magic, I didn't use Ninjutsu, I didn't use any of that garbage. And people want to say, oh, you basically just made yourself an immortal god so you can never die, and that's why you did everything super easily. I'm like, nah, bitch, like, I did everything easy because I adapted really fast, and I did well. And people are mad that I did well, so they want to say that I broke the game. It's like, I didn't break anything. There's nothing stopping you from putting 16 Constitution. You could have done the same shit that I did. In fact, arguably, I think it's less advantageous to go for more health rather than damage in Neo, honestly. I feel like damage carries you way more than health does, because everything just does absurd damage. And defense in Neo hardly makes a difference, honestly. Little bits of damage reduction will help you, but it doesn't really help that much. Once you get Ki Pulsing down, it's like a whole new world. Yeah, it opens up a lot of options. There's a lot of avenues you can explore. Once you get, like, skills and Ki Pulses going and, like, switching to different stances, into different moves and shit. It's the same in Souls and Bloodborne. Go above 30 vit and you have a much easier time. I wouldn't say you have an easier time. Now he's gonna feed, by the way. I wouldn't say you have an easier time.
Step 3. Bypass. Now, once we kill
like, for example, by the end of my Neo 2 playthrough, my first base game playthrough, I had a total of 3 grand for health. I had 3 grand. I had 16 Constitution, and that's it.
Of course you will.
I could have done without, like, 500 health or so. I could have had, like, 2,800 health, 2,600 health, 2,700 health. I would have been fine. There's not a single time where I went down to 300 health where it would have made a difference if I died or not, you know? Like, I cannot recall a single time in a boss fight where I went down below, like, 300 or 400 health. So everybody saying, oh, you are only surviving so easily because you have 3,000 health is a fucking mute point. It's a mute argument. Because honestly, if I never went down to the 300 health margin on my health bar, then it wouldn't have made a difference fighting the bosses, would it? I still did the majority of things first try, and like, nobody can tell me I didn't, you know? And, like, I'm not saying that to flaunt skill or anything, because I'll be the first to tell everybody I'm bad at Neo. I'm bad. I don't know the game as well as I'd like to. I'm not as good at it as well as I'd like to. Remembering certain button inputs just sucks ass, and it's really hard. What the fuck was that? But... what the fuck is going on? What the hell? What is happening? What the fuck? What is this? I'm so distracted, I'm sorry. The noises are catching me off guard, man. What the fuck is going on? I don't know why people get so salty. I have no problem admitting when I'm shit. Yeah, I'm shit all the fucking time, dude. I'm awful. What the fuck is this? What is going on, dude? Are you guys seeing this? Like, is this playing for you guys? Because, like, this is distracting the fuck out of me. Like, I know who some of these people are, but, like, I'm super distracted, man. I can't even play the fucking game. What the fuck? Like, Frungle, are you hearing all the alerts going off? Like, that's not just me, right? I don't have any subscribers, Frungle. Only visuals? Weird. I don't know what the fuck that was, honestly, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck that was. I'm assuming it was like a really weird bug or a glitch or something, but holy shit. Because I didn't see any alerts in chat or anything like normal, so I have no fucking idea what the hell that was. Anyway, I'm sorry for that, that was really awkward. I don't know if that's legit or not, but if those are legit, holy fuck, thank you. That was like fucking 10 or 12 subs, holy shit. But I don't think it was, like, I think it was like a weird bug or a weird glitch or some shit. Like, that was weird. I'm super distracted. I forgot what I was saying, but...
Next one.
Yeah, but I'm super awful at Nioh. I'm not as good as I'd like to be. I don't know the game as well as I'd like to. It's really complicated. The inputs are really hard to remember for me. So, like, I'm not as good as the game as I'd like to be, but I see potential now that I'm actually adapting and learning the bosses and learning the attacks and learning the game. And, like, learning how to key pulse and chain stagger and, like, chain, you know, key pulses and skills together. I see a lot of potential. And, when you have people like Zelod, and you have people like Pim, and you have people like Axel, and Bra, and, like, all these cool people telling you, like, you know, giving you all sorts of information and, like, tips and, like, what to use for, like, which weapons and, like, what stance benefits this the most and, like, whatever. It's infinitely easier to adapt to and adjust to, and I feel like I owe those people a lot. But saying that, I also feel like it's a lot due to me, just personal play experience and adaptation and just learning. And, just doing better, honestly, and just gauging my targets and, like, just my own personal experience. Like, you can't beat personal experience. No matter what anybody tells you, you can't beat personal experience. You just can't. The more you, like, subject yourself to something, the better you're gonna learn it, and that's just how things naturally work, especially for games like Souls and Nioh, where that shit is incredibly critical. Because everything is super punishing, so the better you learn to, like, deal with it and the better you adapt to it, the better off you're gonna be.
But there's a problem.
It's also a good deal of fun in the Souls game, the adaptation aspect of the games. Yeah, that's what I like about them the most. They provide a fair challenge. And you learn them, and as you learn them, you'll find yourself doing better, and you'll find yourself, like, just
Step 4 is
approaching shit differently, like, based on your experience, and that's what I found with Nioh 2. And that's why I died so little in Nioh 2. I just felt like it was infinitely more approachable than the previous Nioh, honestly. It's... don't get me wrong, Nioh 2 is more complex than Nioh 1, but because of how fast-paced and punishing Nioh 1 is, it's harder to adapt to, if that makes sense. Nioh 2 has some new additions that make the game a little bit more confusing, even for people that already knew Nioh 1. There's still some things that confuse some people. But it's easier to get once you get it, if that makes sense. But Nioh 1, it has the same learning curve as Nioh 1. Nioh 1 just goes about its learning curve differently than 2 does. And 2's curve feels a bit more fair to me, personally. Like, Yatsu no Kami, I had a little bit of practice on in the beta that I played. Same with Kamaitachi. Same with Maeda Toshie. So if you rewind my Nioh 2 blind playthrough, you'll see that I wiped the floor with Toshie. Because his Wild Spear, I learned to avoid really well. And I just adapted to it and the timing, and I just learned to time it, so it felt natural to me. Yatsu no Kami felt a little bit more natural for me too. Burst countering took me a little bit to get used to, but once I got used to burst countering, I was pretty damn good at it. Except for Gyuki, I can't burst counter Gyuki for shit. But every other boss, except Azai Nagamasa, I felt like I couldn't burst counter him very well either, but every other boss I felt relatively comfortable burst countering. And I did fuck around with Phantom a little bit, but it has a very critical, like, counter timing that I'm not adjusted to yet. So you gotta wait till, like, literally before the attack connects, and then you gotta do your parry instead of being able to basically do your parry pretty much anytime you want. I haven't gotten too into Feral yet, so that might be something we experiment with dual swords as well. We might go and try a Feral Spirit all throughout my dual swords playthrough and see if we can fuck around and adapt to the different forms. Because the more experience I get with them, the easier they're going to be for me to adjust to and adapt to and play with, so. There's still a lot of fun to be had with Nioh 2. We have New Game Plus, we have DLCs coming out, we have bosses, we have a whole bunch of new side missions to do, we have some Kodama hunting to get done, we have subsequent playthroughs, we have different weapons, we're gonna have DLC weapons, we're gonna have all sorts of fun fucking shit. We're gonna have a great time with Nioh 2, it's gonna be fucking awesome, and I can't wait. Honestly, like, I can't remember the last time I said I was looking forward to playing Nioh 1, but, like, Nioh 2, I genuinely feel like it's a game that, now that I've personally, like, learned it a bit better, I'll enjoy it a lot more. it feels like it's going to be a much more inviting experience for me, and I'm just going to have an infinitely more fun time with it. Especially now that I've done my first run, and now deaths are memes to me now. Like, whatever happens, happens. Like, whatever the fuck, but... There's gonna be gravity, there's gonna be some shit hitboxes, there's gonna be me playing like a retard, there's gonna be a ton of stuff.
Plan in motion. Soon the casino will burn. Hey, there you are.
Scratch through the surface and now you're diving into the water? Yeah, exactly, like, that's what I feel like. I feel like I adapted to Neo 2 so well that, like, there's potential for me in that game. Don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna be like a fucking no-hit runner or anything like that. I'm definitely not gonna be a fucking no-hit runner or anything like that. Nothing of the sort, but, you know, I'm not gonna fight bosses no-hit. I'm not gonna do crazy, insane challenge runs of, like, level 1 weapons versus New Game Plus bosses. I don't give a fuck about that. I'm just happy that I've learned the game enough to enjoy it and feel like I'm not getting repeatedly butt-fucked with the strap-on by Koei Tecmo. And, like, I've actually, like, learned the game enough to have, like, a say in what happens, and, like, I can adjust and I can adapt to shit, and I can, like, approach it differently, and I can use all the knowledge that I've gained, you know, through play experience, and just have an infinitely easier time. And saying that, my first playthrough of Neo 2, I died, like, what, 25 times? Most of those were insta-kills and gravity. Anything that could have been chalked up as absolutely my fault, like, without a doubt, was maybe, like, 9 or 10 deaths maximum. And, like, I feel like that says enough that, like, I learned quite a bit, and I adapted quite a bit. Now, saying that, for my next playthrough of Neo 2, we might go a little bit less health, maybe 40 Constitution? Maybe 45 Constitution? But I don't feel like I needed as much health as I had. Especially if I get regenerating life on my stuff. See, the thing is, though, is I wanted to keep it interesting for stream. I didn't want to go and re-roll stats 1,000 million times to get what I wanted, you know what I mean? I didn't want to do that. That would have been boring for people to watch, and it would have sucked. Like, I don't want to sit in the blacksmith all the time re-rolling stats for, like, RNG shit. The amount of deaths doesn't equal how hard it is. There could have been plenty of instances where you get a shrine on the brink of death. Yeah, that's also fair. Like it doesn't immediately represent how well or how bad you did at the game, because, like, meme bullshit happens, gravity happens, like, there's revenant deaths, there's all sorts of bullshit. There's co-op deaths where you fall off cliffs randomly. Hell, there was a time where I fell through an elevator. I just rubber banded through a fucking elevator and I died, because I fell. On the Saito Yoshitatsu map. Shit just happens. Like, whatever, it's memes, you know? Like, it's not immediately representative of skill at all. Plus, like, if you take into account the people that do all the crazy challenge runs and shit like that, but I feel like, personally, for me, playing the game casually and playing it blind, I feel like 25 deaths, I'm pretty happy with that, you know? I feel like I did relatively well. Especially knowing that a lot of the deaths were gravity or insta-kill bullshit from full health. Like, what I consider to be an insta-kill is if I'm very near max health or I am max health. That is basically an insta-kill to me. So, for example, the ninjas that bomb grab you, the guys with axes that do the burst counter moves, the Odachi guys who do the burst counter moves, those are all insta-kills. Grab moves from certain enemies. Odachi wielding Ippon Datara, like that kind of thing. Like, those are all insta-kills to me. So that's what I consider to be, like, an insta-kill. But that kind of hyper-artificial shit pisses me off, but there's so much less of it in Neo 2 that I honestly can't be that mad at it. Really, like, I was playing with Bra the other day, and we were playing a map with a huge gank fight, and I survived, right? Like, Bra's even saying that I've been carrying him. Brahma Lama is saying that I've been carrying him. And, like, I know he's fucking around, but, like, for somebody that's so skilled at the game to claim that I'm carrying them, I'm a fucking scrub. Like, I suck at the game compared to him. He has infinitely more experience and infinitely more hands-on, you know. Like, he's so much more adept at the game than I am. He knows it so much better. He understands it so much more than I do. So, to hear somebody so influential in the Neo community, and, like, somebody so highly, you know, valued and respected input-wise, to say that I've been carrying them, compared to how I used to play the game, is beyond humbling to me. Like, that's honestly, like, not to let it go to my head, but I'm honestly humbled beyond words that he's saying shit like that. But, like, I feel like that's a definite, you know, like... I think he's saying that in recognition of how much I've improved. And that's how I'm choosing to take it, you know. Because if we rewind and look at how I used to play Neo 1 compared to how I approached and played Neo 2, it's a vastly different experience.